Okay, what were we talking about yesterday?
The purpose.
Pilates teachers with and without training.
Ooh.
And our point of views on that, which is a sensitive subject these days, because we, for whatever reason, should discuss and debate why someone should be trained, certified, qualified, versus learning on their own, which is so crazy. It's like, do you do the exam or pass the exam when you are going to be a lawyer, a broker, a fireman? Like,
for me, like the first thing that comes to mind is just honestly beyond safety. It's like respect to that technique, like truly, because you can teach yourself a lot, but it just shows like, oh, I respect that school of thought enough to actually learn it through that school with
and what's
the
the
teachers.
point? Like, what's the point? Like, sure, I get it for like a part-time job or a passion project, but what's the point of really spending your time if you're not going to do it properly?
And also, like, the risk that it involves, right? I mean, we see all these videos on Instagram and TikTok, and of course we see, like, videos on, fails on apparatus, like the reformer. But
and that happens.
Things happen. Even on the mat, you can injure someone so easily. And that's the biggest concern for me.
So do you see day-to-day people walking into the studio with the same issues? I do. The same, as you must ask someone,
The low back.
do you have any aches or pains?
Yes.
Do you have any injuries? Is there anything I need to know about your body before I strap on these 2 to 10 pound ankle weights on your body?
I feel like 20.
As you're doing single leg bridge.
I have
do you
PTSD. PTSD from
You're
yesterday's
fine.
class.
You're fine. It was a great class. We had a lot of fun.
The
It
best.
was great. Did you like it? Was it
We
good?
loved it.
Good. Like,
Best class.
what was your favorite exercise caught by surprise?
I think it's the compounded glute work. I thought I would be like crazy sore, and I don't actually use ankle weights that much, and I felt the like side leg series.
Yeah.
It was actually what I needed. Like, I thought it was too much, but I was like, oh wow, I actually
needed
needed
that
that.
muscle.
I have a weird hip thing, and today I'm not like, it's not
Yay.
as tender. So I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I need to start
It's like we
integrating
gave
that.
your hip problem a friend, and that friend is now with your hip.
Yeah.
And now they're good.
Yeah.
You know what? I taught a woman who hadn't done Pilates, this is a few weeks ago, and we just, I have so much fun with the circle or the ring, between the thighs. And then the next
Love it.
time she came, she said that she found it easier in a way with the rings because you really have to engage, and she felt more stable, and she felt more secure, and she felt stronger, and it helped her with her low back hip issues versus nothing at all. And I was like, that's it was just such nice insight, because I think a lot of people who might have injuries, who might have pain, maybe they are scared to use props. But props can oh my gosh, they just take your engagement level
a
up.
yoga class without a block.
Yeah.
Like, when I get a block and extended side angle, and I can properly from the ground up turn my hips, open my ribs, reach up, as opposed to holding my body weight for 10 breaths.
Yeah.
Using props, especially with mat, especially with any mat class, really just assist your body, elevates it. But I wanna kind of spot down maybe the top 5 injuries and risks that you see on a day, week to week basis of the people walking into your room. Because I know we all share some of the same clients, but also the same problems are happening.
Yeah.
All
I
the
could
ski
list
injuries,
them off.
like the knees and the hips. I'm like, how'd you do that? Ski trip. How'd you do that? Pickleball. How'd you do that? How do you have, kyphosis, whatever, dorlosis? You sit at a computer 24/7. So what are I'd say the top 3 or 5 that you see, Sasha?
Lower back pain, and usually having to do with a weaker core and poor posture sitting at a desk. It stems from what you were mentioning. Also, generally more of a lordotic back, and just not knowing how to move it in a way that supports it. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing I see on social media as well, right? We talk about the sway back in any Pilates class that's filmed or whatever. And I think there's just a lack of awareness from students, but also from some instructors, clearly. And it's there not being enough mobility, and then there not being enough strength. It's that like that sweet spot between both that isn't achieved in classes, and because, you know, for the most part, people don't know to target those areas.
Right.
And people ask that question a lot, like how can I'm starting to feel pain when I do this many abs, or this, you know, within like 2 minutes of abdominal work. How can you, you know, can you help guide me? And it's usually like, okay, well, imprint is like the first concept we talk about, and then it's like, actually, let's look at your spinal flexion, especially in the lumbar spine. Like, can you actually round that lower back? Most of the time it's a no.
Yeah.
And that's because natural, obviously, curvature of the spine, and then the compounded effect of for sure, hamstrings, glutes, but also just like sitting at a desk and the imbalance that creates. So
totally.
that's number one, 100%.
Low back to one side. That like lower quadrant there, you know, because you can see even when you take my low back, like it will go to one side. And so that one, that's why I love just like centered exercises, bridges, like I love the one-legged stuff, but I find especially for anyone who has low back issues, even roll-ups, spinal rolls, what I have them pay attention to, okay, as you roll, is one hip lifting? Is it shifting? Okay, pay attention to that moment, like readjust.
When I see a girl, a guy, a man, a woman do a roll-up properly, you do Pilates. like when you don't use momentum and you understand how to draw in, like that.
Well, this is the sweet spot between that like spinal mobility and core strength, and like that creates the spinal articulation, and that's Pilates. Yeah, it's Pilates. Yeah, it's all the above.
No, it's, you see it. There's always, I'd say, half of the room has a common ache or a pain and needs modifications, and that's where proper qualified programs really helps you identify modifications in every exercise, advancements in every exercise, and just like staying to the script. You know, I see and hear from new instructors and studios that like, you have to come up with a new move today. Be creative, be inventive, make sure it burns.
The burn.
Oh my God, like
the tyranny of the burn.
Like, did you sign a waiver? Yes or no? Like, just did you?
And also, we know that like sticking to a script is like layer one, right? Like actually going to your training is just the beginning. Yeah. Completing your training is just the beginning.
And do that scriptive sequence.
And but even then, it's like, not that it's not sufficient, but as you grow as an instructor, if you want to like sustain your practice and your profession, well, you have to keep learning. Like I think of my training.
We're halfway there.
I think of my training.
Don't even halfway to where.
Yeah, halfway to
the next halfway.
No, but I think of let's say our training. We both did Balanced Body, and it's great training.
Yeah.
But the like we have all this experience from teaching prior. And coming in, it's like, oh, okay, we catch on to things a little faster, and we have all this lived experience with our clients.
We're also a competitive skater.
Yes, that also helps. But teaching for 13 years or 12 years, whatever, before starting to teach Pilates, really informed like my training. But I think of all these people who step in from like a corporate job or whatever.
That's the thing, is that
it's layer one.
It's one thing if you have other areas of expertise and experience where you have gotten certified, and then it's a completely other thing. And I remember my first trainings that I went to through eccentrics. I didn't know hamstring, quad. It's like what is even coming at me? These are words that I don't even know for a while, and it feels so good to keep layering the certifications, and even just added, oh, let me do that fascia course, let me do that breathwork course, and it just clicks in like a puzzle. So I also want to encourage people to do that, because if they're just self-taught from, okay, I can get on all fours and pump my leg up and cue to engage your abs, but like, what do you really know about balancing the body, about sequencing? If somebody looks like that, what could that be? What could you cue to help them? Yeah, what do you like in that moment? And the first certification program, no matter what you do, it's probably going to be the most challenging, unless it's like a random weekend one, and those exist too. Yeah. But it does actually get easier and more exciting because you understand it more. Yeah. So like, do that first official training.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, like, why probably some people don't do the trainings, overload, decision overload. There's a million schools. What do I even trust? Weekend,
Studio will hire
online.
you if you don't have to.
Do I go to in person? Most studios don't even care if you are certified, especially if maybe you teach something else or if it's popular. So, it's up to studio owners to maintain that quality control.
Yeah.
And it's also up to people to be wise consumers, like anything, like what you believe on the internet. That's up to you. But then if I'm reading it from that source, I already know that it's gone through a certain,
And that's the difficulty.
Yeah.
It's getting increasingly difficult
And more
to
expensive.
sift through,
And more
like,
expensive,
as a
yeah.
consumer, right? Like
COVID.
COVID.
Totally
COVID.
flipped the fitness industry on its head.
Yeah.
But also look at studios have never been busier. In gyms, there was like a year
Now I
where
think, it's like,
it ebbs
now
and
it will
flows.
just continue to,
Depends
do you
where.
think studios will be the thing?
Well, when I think of Pilates specifically, like, hard to say for
the
well
most
versed,
popular thing in the world
but well
right now.
versed in our practice, right? I think right now there's like this people are trying to diffuse the practice, the diffuse Pilates, right?
It's
Because
a good name for it.
Yeah, diffuse Pilates.
it's true. It's like they just, because there's demand, they just want, we're opening 7 more studios.
Yeah.
We just need instructors. And I think it's kind of like inflation, right? It's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse if that's the approach. Versus, I don't know. This is also like
I
economy,
agree.
right? How it works. I'm not an economist. But I do feel like there is a trend upward, and I think it's like a double-edged sword.
Okay.
On one side, it's great because there's more exposure, but on the other, I think, like, it's going to diffuse the quality, right? The quality of teaching.
Do you think it will hit a point where like this hit sculpt and hot sculpt and diffuse Pilates and make formers and all this hit will go another direction?
Well, I think there's always going to be a space for really high quality teachers and high quality studios, and I think when there's like that overload of studios and of instructors and of offerings, then a lot of places are going to start to like lose business
Especially
or
if they
go
open
bankrupt.
just to be trendy and trending.
This
your
they're short-lived.
aesthetic
It's all
is-
short-lived. If you think of yoga studios, like early 2010s versus now, like they're of course yoga is like way more widespread, but there was definitely an up and then there's a bit of a down, right? Or spin studios, like there was huge demand early 2010s into like SoulCycle, into pre-COVID, and then. So I think Pilates is going to do that for sure. Pilates, I mean, when I say Pilates, that includes like Megaformer, that includes like all the other modalities.
The stuff that isn't Pilates.
No, I know. I'm saying no. You're good point. I don't consider it Pilates, but I'm saying
I get
the ecosystem
The
of
ecosystem.
quote unquote
He's
Pilates.
banging them out today.
The ecosystem of Pilates, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I think that will shift, and then the most like highly qualified teachers and studios hopefully will be the ones who will stick around. There will be all sorts, of course, but I'm like, anyways, back to this idea of quality control. Just to play devil's advocate, I do believe, there's also this whole discussion in the Pilates sphere about like gatekeeping kind of the essential kind of teachings of Joseph Pilates, and the idea of a classical Pilates, which in my definition is a little wider than it actually is, but like classical Pilates technically is everything that was taught by Romana and like all of her kind of her disciples, right? She called it classical. And the idea that this is like a fossil, it just like fossilizes and stays as is forever, doesn't make sense to me. I do believe in the evolution of everything, right?
Yeah.
Not evolution for evolution's sake, but like as our knowledge, point of views, but as our knowledge of the body keeps growing, as our understanding of like the interconnectedness of things and all these added layers come in, I think it's interesting. Like I like the idea of a contemporary approach to Pilates while understanding the foundational kind of work.
I felt that balanced body and Lorraine, who did the training, did a really good job at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was this living, breathing body of knowledge. And that resonated with my philosophy. And I loved how in their books they even spoke to the space that you hold, the mental, emotional, side of holding this physical fitness space. And it was one of my absolutely favorite things, coming from an education background, studying education, teaching preschool kids, and contributing to a curriculum of another fitness program. I was like, oh my gosh, I love the angle that they're coming at. And I love the foundation first. That's what keeps it so safe. And it's up to us as instructors to inspire and excite people to keep it so simple.
Yeah.
It's how fun is it to be like, we're just gonna imprint, oh my God, lift your leg, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, it doesn't have to
No,
be.
I love it, totally.
Like fireworks.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fireworks. Yeah.
And it's also nice for us. Like, I don't know, I've always and you both do that so well. The layering, it's like, it's so safe, it's so exciting. What I think people do a lot of is, this is life. If you haven't done Pilates, like I've met a lot of people who haven't done Pilates, and they don't even know what they're talking about when they speak of it.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And so then maybe they knew one friend's experience, and they're going to base it off that.
Right.
And also the idea of Pilates, pre all of what's going on right now, like even 15, 20 years ago, like to me it was like these like cat ladies who did
Oh
Pilates,
God.
you know what I mean?
The tea, the drinking of
The
the
drinking
tea
of the
with
tea with the cats.
and the socks on.
So that's what a lot of people are maybe still holding on to.
I
No.
never saw that.
Really?
I missed that meme.
Oh my God. No, it's like, that's what it was. And like you would go up onto a third floor of a building and
In like a random
the door
studio
was locked,
space.
so you needed like the password, like it was
To go to classes.
It was, and it was but it was a learning space, and it was a healing space, and it was a rehab space, and
Rehab,
it was a,
big time rehab.
it was an
huge.
investment space, and it was people that were dedicated to themselves in that form of in that modality of really healing.
So what does Pilates mean for you, and what have you felt in your personal body? And it can have shifted from the first time and then learning, but like
totally.
just some things, like what do you think of, and how has it supported your personal body through different stages of your life?
Yeah. Well, I was a competitive dancer, so I come to all of this with a lot of flexibility. And I then had to structure my body in a center muscular way. And there's moments when I'm training where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so strong. Like, it's like, sometimes I catch myself by surprise with something I'm doing, whether it's my legs or my core or my arms. But I feel like I've set up my adult body.
Yes.
And I see that how I am amongst other people who haven't set up their adult bodies, from the structure, from the strength, to the shape. I don't fit as tightly into things that I did 10 years ago, even though I shouldn't still try to be wearing it.
Yes.
But it's because I have abdominal muscles and like lats and like I have this like body structure that's strong and very healthy.
Yeah.
You know, so
Adult.
Did you do Pilates during your competitive dancing days?
No, I did forms of what's it called? Like training classes that were instructors that had that knowledge. So I'm familiar with the exercises, but we, which we should have been, had conditioning classes that were structured for Pilates and structured for yoga. I will never forget my first yoga class.
I know, right?
Eagle into tree, into dancers. I was standing on my left foot, and it's like I'd never balanced on one leg before. From the type
As
of
a
muscles
dancer.
I was using in my like
In your foot.
in the foundation of a foot all the way up to the hip.
Yeah.
I was using these muscles to balance, and the room was like 1,000,000 degrees, but I was like, whoa, okay, let's go body.
Yes,
We had a completely new thing to learn.
Yes.
And that was like, that's why I stayed so like obsessed in a way, just making sure I was doing that for my body every day, but like like what a now like invitation to go discover something physically in my body that I haven't done before. That is what took complete priority of my personal life, while then also starting a career and whatever. And then you get to a point in your career where you're waking up at 4 a.m. to go make sure you do that hour and a half of yoga and Pilates, so you can then live for the rest of your day. That, you know, you want to spend the entire summer doing hours and hours of training in yoga and Pilates, etc. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pursue this. I'm gonna now teach at every studio for 1 million hours, make $5, and see if I can do it. And I'm going to give it 1 year, and if I can do it, I'll continue for the next year, and if not, I'll go back to my job. And that was 2018 to now, and I was reading off of a script sequence probably up until 2 years ago for my own clarity. Let's get this right. Let's do this right. Like whether it's anatomy or sequence or breath cues, like whatever it was. And that's why I'm in a place today where I'm teaching you, and it's a 45-minute express class, which whatever. And I'm layering on that foundation. When I get it right and I say it with the technique flow cue, I name that body part, and I get it, I like high. It's so cool because it's like a complete script that I've memorized, that when it flows out, I'm just like, sometimes I catch myself surprised too, and I'm like, oh,
it feels so good. It feels
then, like,
good.
Whatever. So it's a big commitment, and it takes a long time to really get it started, because there's a lot of foundation work.
And to master, that, I guess, it's a real career, and it takes mastery, and it takes, like they say, with any career, it's minimum 10,000 hours. I believe in that. Like Pilates, well, movement for all of us, we've given way more than that.
How do you recover? What's your recovery like?
Good question. Well, I'm here to recover. I'm bad at recovering, and I've been, chatting with Meg about this all week. I mean, I guess this has more to do with the self-employed, business owner kind of life, where I'm just always
sales service.
Yes, always going, and I'm also a little type A,
an Aries.
And an Aries. So I don't know when to slow down, and this was the same when I was training. I would go, and not be so good at recovery. So this is something I need to work on. But I do think I've been doing a little bit more in the winter in Montreal. I've been doing a little more hot yoga. That's been really helpful. And I do take my own classes.
Why hot yoga?
Because just the winter, there's something about the heat. You used to do a lot of this.
I started to do hot yoga right before COVID. I actually went to Fort Lauderdale and went to a Bikram student, before everything happened. I know. And it's I know it was super aggressive, and that what was so funny is that either I would only do a yin with all the props at night, I don't even know what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, or a 90-minute Bikram. But because I have short, shorter muscles, I'm tighter by nature, it felt so good. And same thing, it's a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people too. I think it's so healthy to have a foundation, but then to move through activities and sports and everything seasonally.
For sure. So for me, more in the winter, it's hot yoga. And generally, I think I'm pretty good at least booking myself the treatments. I have my osteo every once in a while. I have a great massage therapist. I do acupuncture. I'm good with that. Yeah. But I think Meg is better with rituals, and I want to hear more about them actually. Our rituals.
I would love to go to all those therapists as often as I could. I think for me, it's just a constant state of attunement with my body. So even my recovery will look different. And so if I feel good, the moment I open my eyes, peace. Hey, I'm doing something right. What am I doing? Okay, I'm, like we talked about, maybe even I'm taking magnesium, I'm taking collagen. Hey, who knows? Maybe if I stop that, would I have aches in my joints? Maybe, but I don't really need to find that out, so I'm going to keep taking them. In Montreal, I cycle everywhere, and I swim regularly in the summer. Here, I'm on a moto, so I'm not getting that. I swim maybe maybe like twice a week here. I'm a big fan, you guys know, legs up on the wall most days.
What's your recovery, Meg? Legs up the wall.
Yeah.
That's it?
She's like, give me something more.
It's been forever.
Yeah,
It's been
and
for
that's
years.
like hamstrings, inner thigh, I'll take a nap, you know, and I just really...
No, but that's your feeling.
In the morning, I do some, like, this isn't recovery, but I'm just telling you, like, how I complement my classes. Like, I do a minute of jumping, spinal rotations. I do some nice self-massage and lymphatic drainage every day.
You go, girl.
And that's it. The classes this season that I'm taking are more strength focused than yoga.
Yeah.
And I miss my yoga. I want to try to find a way to incorporate it back in
Same.
for spiritually.
Yeah.
Like, but also
Feel
like you're
connected.
saying, a different strength and just being inspired by the teachers here and the way that they create sequences. Like, oh my gosh. But I'm just like, right now, I'm not doing much yoga. I'm doing strength training, the classes that I teach, which are partially doing, partially taught. And like, I don't know. It's like one of these things where you're like, I feel amazing.
What is your one definition, your one sentence of what does the definition of well-being mean to you?
The first word that comes to mind is peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking alignment, but it's along the same line.
There's no right, you
lines.
know?
Yeah.
It's
Not
like-
I'm
it's
not
like-
saying physical alignment. I'm saying no,
Alignment.
but like alignment of all the chakras.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well-being can look, you can be,
Yeah.
you know, 100 pounds, 300 pounds. Like, do you have
Well-being.
peace in your body? Do you have peace in your mind? Do you have peace in your
Yeah.
spirit? Do you have peace in your choices? And like, you know, and every day I give thanks for my own body and the health of that of my family, you know.
Mhm.
And I think it's really interesting. Like, it's a very honored seat that we have, a very sacred seat that we have, because we chat with people before and after class.
Yeah.
So we might be planting these seeds. Like, you have no idea. And I'm
That's
sure we
right.
all have those people who are like, I took one class of yours.
Yeah.
And then I talked to my mom about this, and then I changed this, and then I'm so happy. I've been thinking about your class, and now I'm back. And, you know, it's just a reflection of, like we're saying, yes, going through the certifications, but being at peace with our own bodies and sharing that vibe and sharing what works with us. And I think the more years and the more decades that we go through, the more space we're able to hold, you know? And it feels really exciting for me to be in this decade, you know, and actually feel like, I don't know if I'm the strongest I've ever been. I might be, I don't know, but I feel so good at 41, you know? And the Pilates strength through my core, like, that's
Next level.
If I could please everybody strengthen your core through Pilates, then just do whatever crazy thing you want.
Mhm.
Do the HIIT, do the circuit, do your jujitsu.
Understand how to breathe.
Understand how to breathe. Understand how to move.
That's a big one. That's
how
a big
to
one.
breathe. If you want to build strength
just a
in your
ticking-
body, learn how to exhale. Learn how to match that with an inhale. Then you're really building proper cellular structure and strength in your body.
Yes. And then you're because otherwise it's a ticking time bomb.
Oh my god.
Like,
I
it's a
see when
ticking time
people's
bomb.
Chest
Oh,
and
so-
throat and neck and head.
Yes.
They look like they're gonna explode, and I'll
Yes.
stand over them. I'm like, exhale.
Yes. So we didn't go through our list of injuries. Low back, and then my top 3 would also include neck.
Neck.
Shoulders, yes, but like
Yeah.
there's often some kind of neck and
Yeah, but I have a neck
shoulder stuff,
issue.
you
Yeah, but I
know?
have a shoulder issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and teaching people head positioning, like even, you know, cueing how to roll up,
Yeah.
How to crunch.
where
Oh, how to
where to
chest lift.
gaze,
That's a huge one.
where to gaze during an
Like the neck.
exercise, you know, if they're up here, if they're here,
Yeah.
so teaching
Oh.
that.
The gaze always.
But the back arched and plank. Ow!
I know.
Ow!
Yeah.
The chaturanga back arch.
Yeah.
now my cue for that, other than the hand structure, because everyone has sensitive wrist from not
Oh,
holding their
wrist
upper
is
body.
a big thing
is
too.
is my cue is when we're doing a low push-up or a chaturanga
Yeah.
is keep your hips higher than your shoulders, because a lot of people lead with their hips and their back
Yes.
then arches, and then finally they make it to the ground.
Yes.
Where I'm saying leave your hips up so you lower down,
yes.
and then eventually
Yes,
you
and
hit.
we
But
don't
like
have to.
it's my job to look at you and to watch you, and whether this is your first class with me, can I touch you? I can? Okay, let's do that again.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like you have to stop doing that, or you're like
Yeah.
can't come to my class anymore.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
People have to have an openness to receive the cues,
They do.
and you know, even that body
Did
awareness
that make
takes
sense?
so much time.
Did that land on your body? Did that
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah.
You
Because
know?
you picture, you know, it's like, oh
No, no,
yeah,
I'm just
it's-
saying,
Yeah,
like in
yeah.
general as a cue, like
Oh,
you
yes.
know, like
Yeah.
asking them.
Yes.
But I did want to bring up what well-being leads to, because I think it's
Yes.
important to have the either like-minded or the sense. You answered it exactly as I was thinking, so well done.
My answer doesn't count.
No, it does.
I win.
You're
Yeah.
referring to being in center, being
Yeah.
in alignment,
Balance.
being whole,
Yeah.
having
Calm.
like complete harmony.
Yeah.
You know, it's all. I know what you meant by that. But I think we're completely saturated in this wellness trend. Is wellness referring to the $79 hair oil,
Yeah.
the $85 like
Yes.
treatment, and
Sold
etc.
things.
Where like I want with my company fitness, beauty,
Yeah.
health, beauty referring to inner beauty,
Yeah.
your thoughts,
Yeah.
your energy. How do you speak about yourself to
Yeah.
yourself? Health referring to mental health and peace of mind and
Yeah.
nourishment and etc. And those are my values, and I know people resonate with me when I'm as a business owner and as a teacher. But I do want to help people understand wellness starting with well-being
Mhm.
and being about the harmony and the peace you have with yourself. Because you see the way people age or the way people look when they have a little bit of misleading darkness, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like something where people are very insecure.
And this speaks to the power of marketing, unfortunately, right? Like this speaks to the power of influencer marketing.
Skincare.
This is what all these brands are using to target people to make them purchase all these products, right? It's insecurities or seeking answers, and people look really fast through social media, and they find answers.
We want to feel our best.
and
we want to be happy.
and we also want quick
know?
answers. We want
Yeah.
fast answers, but sometimes it's actually not in the speed. It's actually in like the quality and the slowness, and things happen over time. Like wellness, well-being. Firstly, it's a constant renegotiation. It's not just like an uphill. Oh, and we're there. And it's a constant journey. Even if you find a place of harmony and of balance, you're still having to negotiate that with yourself consistently.
Okay, vulnerable 15-second answer, just because it's hard to kind of get into all these. What was the one moment where you had to heal and really grow up? Anyone?
One of.
I'll go,
Not
I'll
the
go
one.
first because
Yeah, one
I
of.
asked the question. Just one. That's what I mean. Like that one point, the thing that like what did I need to heal for him to get to where I am? Because we are people of service and light workers and standing there to inspire and to educate and everything. And we have to stand up there with the confidence of strength, Healing from epilepsy and seizures. I'm 2 years seizure free as of last week. And overcoming that as a adult, because it was something that only happened to me 8 years ago, that was really kind of the maturing point of growing a backbone, having thick skin, and also like owning my identity and not letting the world affect me and spiral and seize. So that's why I can do this.
You can hold that space.
Yeah.
You have overcome something, so you're like, okay, guys, let's fucking go.
So I can stand there. You're trying, and
Good
I
for
don't
you, babe.
mean to put this
Yeah.
question on you if
Yeah.
you're struggling with something. 'Cause
Yeah.
we all are, and I
Yeah.
have sensitivity to that. But was
Yeah.
there something in your life that brought you to here that you healed from?
So much. You, me.
And you
Go,
don't have to answer this
Um,
question if you don't want to. This is the closing question.
I love this. This is why we need 2 hours of chatting. One of the things that, the first thing, again, boom, instant answer is heartbreak. And holding this space, teaching classes, I remember that, you know, it was so hard. You know, this is like someone you live with, and then you don't live with them anymore. And I had to record my first video the next day. And I showed up, and I met the cameraman who I'd never met. I said, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm going through a really rough breakup." And they put
I'm single.
and they put action on, and I channeled, and that breakup and that
What
heartbreak
did you say to yourself?
and that
Like, what was
heartbreak.
the mantra, if you remember?
You know, that day, I don't think I had a mantra. I can think of other circumstances when I've said, you know, you were safe and everything. But that day, I knew that I was tapping into my truth and my light and my joy. I know that that's an area where I feel comfortable to share movement, to inspire, and I'm actually really comfy on camera. It doesn't even feel awkward because I know that there's someone on the other side of that screen, and that's who I'm talking to. So it's camera on, and everything else falls away.
Yeah.
So that was something, and then I had to attend a retreat and host space for the retreat members, and like honestly, and show up to work and do all these things, and you know, heartbreak and those things. It's not that one. It's like, woo! It's rocky for a minute.
Tears.
So you know, that was one thing, and the other thing was going through chronic pain in my own body and not knowing what was up, and going to see doctors and therapists and getting every scan possible for years, and thinking, but my line of work is fitness, is physical movement, and you know, all these other girls are in their 20s and they don't have pain, and now, oh my God, is this the end of the road? And I would have tears before a class and be like, ah. And then you finally find answers, and then you reach another dead end, and then you get conflicting advice, and getting myself out of it, not through any avenue that anyone actually told me.
Yeah.
Wear this boot, take these meds, don't do that half marathon.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to take the meds, I'm not going to wear the boot, and I am going to run the half marathon. And, you know, moving through that and getting myself out of pain through planks and exercises that were outside of the repertoire from what I was doing. So then holding space for people to say, like, it's possible.
Yeah.
So those are 2 big things off the top of my list.
Okay.
Wow.
You overcame it. You overcome a lot. I mean, it's a climb.
It's beautiful, though, if you see
Beautiful.
beauty in that challenge, because you know that it will just keep opening you up to be able to hold spaces more authentically.
Yeah.
I recently wrote the trend of I went to coffee with my younger self.
Yes.
Or I went to coffee, whatever.
Right, yeah.
Like, what I wrote was,
yeah.
it was such a cleansing, beautiful storytelling. I know everyone who's doing it who's never thought of it that way, I don't think. But oh my gosh, like, what a way to see your growth.
Incredible.
I think that we are, before you share, I think we're so lucky that we do have this method, because it's like if you go play tennis, if you go surf, where everything else falls away.
Yeah.
And this is something that we communicate to the teachers that we teach through our teaching workshops that we give, to say, like, you have to leave that at the door, but like, thank God that we have this practice, or else you can just stir and stir and stir. Then you go and you're like, oh my God, I have to teach.
We're
Press
also
play,
absorbing
and
everyone.
then you're like,
You're absorbing everyone's energy. You're giving of yourself and you're absorbing back. And that's where recovery, legs up the wall, or sauna, or
Whatever you
do
gotta
is
do.
so important, because
infrared
to
sauna.
me, it's shower and
Infrared
bath. Like,
sauna.
I
Yeah,
have
bath,
to
yeah.
wash off
Yes.
y'all. Like, I
Yes.
have to. Otherwise,
Yes.
I'm going to bed with you, and I
Yes,
need to,
yes.
you know,
Water-
rinse it off.
water's
and
everything.
that to me resets me.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay, honey.
Whew, so many. But I think, you know what, I want to speak to something that is currently going on. I feel like I'm in the process of growing, and part of me being here is like actually kind of integrating what's gone on. I lost a friend recently.
I'm sorry.
And I've never lost anyone that close to me. And so that whole process of like teaching through that and having to like push through with my business, and it's especially in the quietest time of the year, and try to be creative and try to think of all the other projects I want to take
Try
on.
not to be sad.
Try not to be sad.
Yeah.
Moving to a new apartment within that whole period. So I feel like that was a huge chunk, and like I can't say I did my best work in the last month and a half, but I can say I got through it, and I can say that people didn't necessarily feel that coming from me in my classes. Maybe they felt it a little, those who really knew me or who really know me, but I got through it. So I would say that's the healing journey.
Yeah, you got through it.
Yeah.
And then it shows you, oh my God, I can get through.
I can get through hard.
And that those mantras help. You know, those mantras help because you need a little bit of prayer. You need the self-talk. You know, you need that little spark of positivity.
And you also
you got to be a fighter.
And you also have to be able to tap into like your innate ability as a teacher, and in a way that's also part of the healing. Like me being able to actually, in that 1 hour of teaching, every time I'm teaching, to like forget about what's gone on.
It helps.
It helps so much.
It helps.
It's healing in itself, right?
Yeah, it helps. It's like putting the phone down and staying focused, you know, on whatever is right in front of you, and not like, don't look at your phone as you teach. Like way to lose a sense, you know. But yeah, it's
life.
It's life.
It's life.
And that's our time.
And that's our time. Did we go over?
Yeah.
100%.
But obviously
36,
you guys are going to
36.
come over and we're going to do this again.
I know.
It's just,
So much to talk about.
oh my God. Who's this? Oh, this one's mine.
I hope it worked.
I hope it works.
I hope it worked.